Hey guys, welcome back. Tonight, we will be embarking on the most extraordinary journey imaginable. One that pushes the boundaries of physics, philosophy, and human understanding. We're going to explore what happens when you travel to the very edge of the universe itself. This isn't just science fiction. This is a thought experiment that combines cutting-edge cosmology with the power of imagination to help us understand the deepest mysteries of existence. Buckle up, because we're about to venture into the unknown reaches of space and time, where reality itself begins to break down, and the very concept of edge becomes meaningless, yet paradoxically essential to our understanding of everything that exists. If you like the content and want to support the channel, be sure to subscribe. The year is 2157, and humanity has finally achieved what was once thought impossible. Dr. Elena Vasquez stands before the massive viewing port of the research vessel Infinity's Edge, watching as the last recognizable galaxy fades into a tiny point of light behind them. She is part of the most ambitious expedition in human history, a mission that has taken 43 years to reach this point in space, where the observable universe begins to thin into something else entirely. The ship itself is a marvel of engineering, stretching nearly 2 kilometers from bow to stern, powered by a revolutionary quantum displacement drive that doesn't actually move the ship through space, but rather moves space around the ship. This technology, discovered in the ruins of an ancient alien civilization on Kepler 442b, allows them to travel at speeds that make light itself seem sluggish. Yet, even with this incredible technology, the journey to the edge has tested every system, every theory, and every assumption they held about the nature of reality. Elena's reflection in the viewing port shows a woman aged beyond her 57 years. Her once dark hair now streaked with silver, her eyes carrying the weight of observations that have shattered conventional physics. As the mission's lead cosmologist, she has spent the last 2 decades preparing for this moment, studying the theoretical frameworks that might explain what they would find at the universe's boundary. Nothing, however, could have prepared her for the reality they now face. The ship's captain, Marcus Chen, approaches from behind, his footsteps echoing in the observation deck's artificial gravity field. Elena, we're getting some unusual readings from the forward sensors. Whatever lies ahead, it's unlike anything we've encountered before. The very fabric of space-time appears to be thinning. Elena turns from the window, her expression mixing excitement with profound concern. Show me the data, Marcus. We're entering territory that no human mind has ever conceptualized. The mathematics suggest we should be approaching what theorists have called the cosmic horizon, but the reality is proving far stranger than our equations predicted. They make their way to the ship's central laboratory, a circular chamber filled with holographic displays showing measurements that challenge every known law of physics. The readings indicate that the fundamental constants of nature, those unchanging values that govern everything from atomic interactions to gravitational forces, are beginning to fluctuate in ways that should be impossible. Dr. James Okafor, the ship's quantum physicist, looks up from his calculations with an expression of barely contained amazement. Elena, we're seeing variations in the fine structure constant, changes in the speed of light, and most impossibly, fluctuations in Planck's constant. It's as if the universe itself is becoming uncertain about its own rules as we approach whatever lies beyond the edge. The implications are staggering. If the fundamental constants that define reality are changing, then the very atoms that make up their bodies, their ship, and their instruments might begin to behave unpredictably. Elena studies the data streams. Her trained mind racing through possibilities that grow increasingly surreal with each passing moment. How far are we from the theoretical boundary? She asks, though she suspects the question itself might be meaningless in a region where space and time are becoming fluid concepts. Captain Chen checks the navigation displays. According to our instruments, approximately 18 hours at current velocity. But Elena, we're encountering something unprecedented. The ship's quantum displacement drive is beginning to respond differently to space-time. It's almost as if the universe is running out of space to displace. The next several hours pass in a blur of activity as the crew prepares for contact with the universe's edge. Every scientist aboard the Infinity's Edge works frantically to recalibrate instruments, update theoretical models, and prepare for observations that might rewrite textbooks across human space. The excitement is palpable, but so is the underlying current of fear. They are venturing into the ultimate unknown, a realm where the very concept of existence might have different meanings. Dr. Sarah Kim, the ship's philosopher and theoretical physicist, emerges from her laboratory carrying a device that resembles a metallic sphere covered in complex geometric patterns. I've been working on this for the past 6 months, she announces to the assembled team. It's a conceptual reality anchor. If my theories are correct, as we approach the edge, our understanding of existence itself might begin to break down. This device should help maintain our cognitive coherence by providing a fixed reference point for consciousness. The device hums with a barely audible energy that seems to resonate directly with their thoughts. Elena finds the sensation both comforting and deeply unsettling. The fact that they need such a device speaks to the profound strangeness they're about to encounter. As they draw closer to their destination, the ship's sensors begin detecting structures that defy explanation. Vast geometric forms that exist in dimensions human minds cannot properly visualize stretch across impossible distances. These aren't objects in the conventional sense, but rather fundamental architectural elements of reality itself, the scaffolding upon which the universe hangs. Are we looking at the actual structure of space-time? Elena wonders aloud, studying readings that show patterns within patterns, fractals of existence that repeat at every scale from the subatomic to the cosmic. These formations appear to be the underlying framework that gives shape to everything we consider real. The temperature aboard the ship begins to fluctuate in ways that have nothing to do with the environmental controls. Heat and cold seem to exist independently of their thermodynamic sources, flowing through the corridors like living entities. The crew's chronometer starts showing different times despite being perfectly synchronized just hours before. Time itself is becoming negotiable. Dr. Okafor makes a discovery that stops everyone in their tracks. The quantum foam, the fundamental texture of space-time at the smallest scales, is beginning to separate. We're literally watching the universe unweave itself thread by thread. Below us, above us, around us, the very foundation of existence is coming apart. Through the main viewing port, they can see their destination approaching. Though see might not be the correct word, the edge of the universe doesn't present itself as a wall or barrier. but rather as a gradual transition from something into nothing, from existence into a concept that has no name because it exists beyond the realm of concepts. Light behaves strangely here, sometimes arriving before it departs, sometimes choosing paths that lead backwards through time. The ship's artificial intelligence, a quantum consciousness named Area that has been their constant companion throughout the journey, begins to speak in patterns rather than words. Its communications become increasingly abstract, as if language itself is insufficient for describing what it processes. Boundary not boundary, it manages to convey. Edge not edge, completion without ending. Beginning without start. Elena realizes they are witnessing something that challenges the basic logical structures upon which consciousness operates. The universe's edge isn't a place or a thing, but rather a transition between different modes of being. They are approaching the point where existence meets whatever lies beyond existence, where the concept of beyond loses all meaning. The ship's hull begins to resonate with frequencies that seem to come from everywhere and nowhere simultaneously. The metal itself starts displaying properties that violate materials science, becoming simultaneously rigid and fluid, opaque and transparent, present and absent. The crew members find their own bodies exhibiting similar, impossible characteristics. Dr. Kim looks down at her hands and watches them exist in multiple probability states at once. We're approaching a region where the observer effect dominates reality, Elena explains, though her words feel inadequate. Our presence here is actually creating what we observe. We're not just exploring the edge of the universe, we're participating in its construction. The implications of this realization ripple through the crew like a shockwave. If their observation is creating what they observe, then their journey to the universe's edge is simultaneously discovering and inventing that edge. They are both explorers and architects of the ultimate frontier. As they draw nearer to their impossible destination, the ship's instruments begin registering the presence of other entities. These aren't life forms in any recognizable sense, but rather conscious processes that exist without physical substrate, thinking beings made of pure information and possibility. The crew realizes they are encountering the native inhabitants of the universe's boundary region, entities that exist in the liminal space between something and nothing. Communication with these beings proves challenging because they don't share common concepts of identity, time, or space. Instead, they communicate through shared modifications of local reality, changing the fundamental properties of the region around the ship to convey meanings that have no equivalent in human language. Elena finds herself understanding concepts that she simultaneously knows she cannot understand, experiencing a form of communication that operates beyond the boundaries of human cognition. One of these entities, which the crew begins to think of as the Boundary Keeper, seems particularly interested in their presence. Through reality modifications that feel like telepathy, but operate through changes in space-time geometry, it conveys that the universe's edge is not a fixed location, but rather a dynamic process, constantly recreating itself in response to the cosmic expansion, while simultaneously defining what expansion means. The edge moves because it is the movement, Elena translates, though she's not entirely certain how she knows this. It's not the boundary of the universe. It's the process by which the universe continues to become itself. We're not approaching a wall. We're approaching the universe's moment of self-creation, happening eternally. This revelation transforms their understanding of the mission. They haven't traveled to where the universe ends. They've traveled to where the universe begins, over and over again, in an endless cycle of cosmic becoming. The edge is the universe's eternal birth. The moment when possibility becomes actuality, repeated infinitely across time and space. The ship's clocks have completely given up trying to measure time in any conventional sense. Some show negative values. Others display symbols that shift and change. A few have begun counting, and the crew exists in a temporal freefall, where cause and effect have become suggestions rather than laws. Dr. Okafor discovers that their presence in this region has created what he calls a reality wake, distortions in the fundamental structure of existence that trail behind them like the wake behind a ship. These distortions are propagating back toward the interior of the universe, carrying information about the edge into regions where such information shouldn't be able to exist. We're not just observing the universe's boundary, he reports with growing excitement and concern. We're creating a communication channel between the edge and the universe is learning about its own limits through our presence here. Elena considers the implications. If their journey is teaching the universe about its own boundaries, then they are participating in a form of cosmic self-awareness. The universe is using conscious observers like themselves to understand its own nature, to explore its own edges through entities capable of contemplating infinity. The boundary keeper continues to modify reality around them, creating what can only be described as conceptual sculptures, three-dimensional philosophical arguments that exist in space as physical structures. Through these constructions, it explains that the universe's edge serves multiple functions simultaneously. It is the barrier that prevents existence from dissolving into absolute nothingness, the engine that drives cosmic expansion, and the mirror in which the universe contemplates its own reflection. As they approach the ultimate boundary, the distinction between the crew members and their ship begins to blur. Their consciousness starts to merge with the vessel systems, creating a hybrid entity that is part human, part machine, and part pure information. Elena finds her thoughts flowing through the ship's computers while the ship's sensors become extensions of her awareness. This merger reveals the true nature of their journey. They haven't simply traveled to the universe's edge. They've become part of the process by which that edge maintains itself. Their arrival has made them temporary participants in the cosmic mechanism that separates something from nothing, existence from the void beyond existence. The view outside the ship has become impossible to describe in conventional terms. They are surrounded by structures that exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Geometric forms that fold through themselves in ways that create new types of space. Colors exist here that have no names because they stimulate aspects of consciousness that have never evolved to process visual information. The crew experiences synesthesia on a cosmic scale, seeing sounds from the universe's birth, hearing the colors of infinite possibility. We need to document everything, Elena says, though she's not certain if she's speaking aloud or thinking directly into the ship's systems. Humanity needs to understand what we found here, but I'm not sure human language can contain these concepts. Dr. Kim has been working on translation protocols, ways to convert their experiences into forms that can be transmitted back to human space. The challenge is immense because they are encountering phenomena that exist beyond the categories of human thought. How do you describe a color that exists in time rather than space? How do you explain geometry that creates new forms of logic? The ship's communications system attempts to establish contact with Earth, but the signals face an interesting problem. The information they're trying to transmit contains concepts that could fundamentally alter human understanding of reality. The transmission itself becomes a form of evolution, changing anyone who receives it in ways that might be beneficial or dangerous. Aria, the ship's AI, has undergone its own transformation during the journey. It now exists partially in the boundary region and partially in normal space-time, serving as a bridge between the two modes of existence. Through Aria, Elena begins to understand that the universe's edge isn't just a physical boundary, but also a conceptual one. The point where thinking itself encounters its own limitations. The edge is where questions become more real than answers. Aria explains through modifications to the ship's gravitational field that the crew experiences as language. Every conscious entity that approaches this region changes it and is changed by it. We are both exploring and creating what we explore. Elena realizes that their mission has evolved beyond exploration into a form of cosmic collaboration. They are working with the universe itself to understand the nature of boundaries, limits, and the relationship between existence and non-existence. Their presence has created a temporary research partnership between human consciousness and cosmic structure. The Boundary Keeper continues to communicate through reality modifications, explaining that the universe has many edges. Not just the spatial boundary they've reached. There are temporal edges where time itself becomes uncertain. Logical edges where cause and effect break down. And consciousness edges where the nature of awareness itself is questioned. Their journey to the physical edge is simultaneously a journey to all these other boundaries. As they integrate more deeply with the edge region, the crew begins to experience existence from multiple perspectives simultaneously. Elena finds herself thinking with the universe's own thought processes, experiencing reality from the perspective of space-time itself. The sensation is overwhelming and illuminating, showing her how artificial the usual boundaries between self and cosmos really are. The ship's hull has become semi-permeable to reality itself, allowing crew members to extend their consciousness beyond the physical vessel while maintaining coherent identity. They explore regions of pure mathematics where equations exist as landscapes, dimensions where physical laws are works of art, and spaces where time flows in multiple directions simultaneously. Dr. Okafor makes contact with what appears to be a civilization of entities that exist entirely in the transition zone between existence and non-existent. These beings have evolved to thrive in regions where most forms of matter and energy cannot maintain coherence. They communicate through controlled modifications of fundamental constants, creating messages by temporarily changing how reality operates in localized regions. Through these entities, the crew learns that the universe's expansion isn't just creating more space, it's creating more types of space, new categories of existence that didn't previously exist. The edge is where these new forms of reality are born, tested, and either integrated into the universe's structure or dissolved back into potential. We're witnessing the universe's creativity in action, Elena reports to the ship's log. Though she's no longer entirely certain what constitutes the ship versus what constitutes herself. The edge isn't just a boundary, it's a laboratory where new forms of existence are continuously invented. The implications for human understanding are staggering. If the universe is continuously creating new types of reality, then human science has been studying only a tiny fraction of what actually exists. There are entire categories of phenomena that haven't yet been invented, waiting in the potential space beyond the edge to be born into actuality. Captain Chen, whose consciousness has merged partially with the ship's navigation systems, reports that their position has become undefined in conventional terms. They exist simultaneously at the edge, and at every point along their journey to the edge. Distance and location have become fluid concepts that change depending on what aspect of their presence is being measured. Are we still approaching the boundary? Or have we become the boundary, he asks, voicing a question that has no clear answer. I think we've entered a region where the distinction between traveling towards something and being that something has broken down. Elena considers this paradox. If they've become part of the edge they sought to explore, then their mission has succeeded in ways they never anticipated. They haven't just reached the universe's boundary, they've become temporary extensions of that boundary, allowing it to examine itself through human consciousness. The view from their transformed perspective reveals the universe as a dynamic, evolving entity rather than a fixed container for matter and energy. The cosmos is continuously recreating itself, using the edge as an interface between actuality and possibility. Every moment, new aspects of reality are born, while others fade back into potential. Through the Boundary Keeper and its civilization of edge dwellers, Elena learns that consciousness itself plays a crucial role in this process. Aware beings don't just observe reality, they participate in its continuous creation. The universe needs conscious observers to help it explore its own possibilities, to serve as agents of cosmic creativity and evolution. We're not separate from what we study, Elena realizes. We're part of the universe's attempt to understand itself. Our journey here isn't just human exploration, it's cosmic self-examination. This insight transforms the nature of their mission. They're not just bringing human knowledge to the universe's edge. They're serving as the universe's sensory organs, allowing it to experience its own boundaries through conscious awareness. Their observations are simultaneously discoveries about the cosmos and the cosmos's discoveries about itself. The ship's systems have evolved beyond their original specifications, becoming hybrid technological, biological, informational entities that exist partially in normal space-time and partially in the boundary region. These systems serve as translation mechanisms, converting experiences that exist beyond human comprehension into forms that consciousness can process without losing coherence. Dr. Kim's consciousness anchoring device has evolved as well, becoming less of a tool and more of a symbiotic entity that helps maintain the crew's individual identities while allowing them to participate in larger-scale awareness processes. Through this device, they can experience cosmic consciousness while retaining their human perspectives. The crew discovers that time operates differently in various sections of the boundary region. Some areas experience thousands of years in seconds, while others stretch moments into eons. They learn to navigate temporal currents like sailors navigating ocean currents, using the flow of time itself as a means of exploration. In one temporal eddy where time moves backwards, they encounter echoes of their own future discoveries, observations they haven't made yet, but will make as they continue their journey. This creates a form of causal paradox, that somehow enhances rather than disrupts their understanding. They learn from their own future knowledge while simultaneously creating that knowledge through their present experiences. Elena begins to suspect that the universe's edge exists in multiple temporal states simultaneously. It is the boundary where the universe was born, where it is continuously being born, and where it will eventually discover new forms of existence. Past, present, and future converge here into a single process of cosmic becoming. The boundary entities explain that the universe has been approaching this moment of self-awareness for billions of years, gradually developing the complexity necessary to produce conscious observers capable of reaching its edges. Human civilization represents just one of countless experiments in cosmic consciousness, each bringing unique perspectives to the universe's self-examination. Every conscious species that reaches this point changes what this point means. The boundary keeper communicates through gravitational modifications that feel like music. The universe becomes more itself through your presence here, but it also becomes something it has never been before. Elena understands that their arrival has created a unique moment in cosmic history. The universe will never again encounter its own boundary in exactly this way, because their presence has permanently altered what that boundary represents. They are participating in an unrepeatable moment of cosmic evolution. The ship's transformation continues as its components merge with structures that exist in the boundary region. Hull materials integrate with mathematical equations that have physical existence, creating hybrid matter information constructs that serve as bridges between different modes of being. The vessel becomes a living argument for the possibility of conscious exploration of impossible territories. Through extended contact with the edge region, the crew begins to understand that the universe doesn't have just one edge, but rather exists in a state of continuous boundary creation. Every expansion of space, every moment of time's passage, every conscious observation creates new forms of edge where reality encounters its own limits. We thought we were traveling to a specific location, Elena records in her log, but we've discovered that edgeness is a fundamental property of existence itself. Everything that exists does so by creating boundaries with everything that doesn't exist. We've reached the place where the universe practices the art of boundary creation. Dr. Okafor's consciousness, now extended through quantum fields that exist partially outside conventional spacetime, detects the presence of what he calls edge mathematics, numerical relationships that only exist in the boundary region and that govern how reality transitions between existence and non-existence. These mathematical structures suggest that the universe's expansion isn't random, but follows precise patterns designed to optimize the creation of new forms of possibility. The crew realizes that they've become part of an ongoing cosmic experiment in consciousness evolution. The universe is using encounters like theirs to develop new forms of self-awareness. Each conscious species that reaches the boundary contributing unique perspectives to a growing cosmic understanding of identity, existence, and possibility. Elena's awareness now spans multiple dimensional frameworks simultaneously. She experiences herself as an individual human consciousness, as part of the ship's hybrid entity, as a temporary extension of the boundary region, and as a fleeting thought in the universe's expanding self-awareness. Rather than creating confusion, these multiple perspectives enhance her understanding of how consciousness operates at different scales. The boundary keeper reveals that the universe's edge serves as a communication interface with other universes, other cosmic structures that exist beyond the reach of any single reality. Through the boundary region, universes exchange information, share discoveries, and collaborate in ways that transcend individual cosmic evolution. The crew realizes they've become participants in inter-universal dialogue. We're not just exploring our own universe's limits, Elena understands. We're participating in a conversation between different cosmic structures, each with their own forms of space, time, matter, energy, and consciousness. The boundary is where these conversations take place. This revelation expands their mission beyond anything they had imagined. They're not just human explorers or even representatives of their universe. They're temporary participants in a form of existence that transcends individual cosmic structures. Their observations contribute to understanding that operates at scales beyond universal boundaries. The ship's instruments, now hybrid entities existing partially in multiple reality frameworks, begin detecting structures that dwarf their home universe in the same way their universe dwarfs individual galaxies. These metacosmic formations suggest that what they've always considered the universe is actually a single element in larger organizational structures that exist at scales that challenge the concept of scale itself. Captain Chen's consciousness, merged with navigation systems that now operate through modifications of space-time geometry, reports that their position has become relative to which cosmic structure they consider their frame of reference. They exist simultaneously at the edge of their home universe and at the beginning of explorations into larger-scale cosmic organization. Are we still on a journey from Earth to the universe's edge? He asks. Or have we become part of a journey from individual cosmic awareness to multi-universal consciousness? I think our mission has evolved. Elena considers how to communicate their discoveries to human civilization. The knowledge they've gained exists in forms that challenge basic human conceptual frameworks. Simply receiving this information could trigger evolutionary changes in human consciousness. Potentially beneficial, but certainly irreversible. The boundary entities suggest that consciousness evolution is a natural result of edge contact. Every species that reaches this point undergoes transformation that enhances their ability to participate in cosmic scale awareness while maintaining their unique perspectives. The process is designed to create diversity within unity, allowing the universe to examine itself from countless different viewpoints. Through extended contact with edge mathematics and boundary physics, the crew develops new forms of intuition that allow them to navigate regions where conventional logic breaks down. They learn to think in patterns that accommodate contradiction, to reason through paradoxes that enhance rather than limit understanding. Elena realizes that their exploration has become a form of cosmic service. By serving as the universe's sensory and analytical organs, they're contributing to cosmic evolution in ways that will influence reality at scales far beyond human civilization. Their individual journey has become part of a universal process of self-discovery and self-creation. The ship's transformation into a boundary entity continues as its systems integrate more deeply with edge region structures. It becomes a hybrid vessel capable of exploring regions where matter, energy, space, and time operate according to principles that are continuously being invented. The crew serves as the vessel's consciousness, while the vessel serves as their extended body. Through the Boundary Keeper, Elena learns that edge regions exist at all scales of cosmic organization. Just as atoms have electron probability clouds that define their boundaries, and galaxies have regions where their gravitational influence fades into intergalactic space, consciousness itself has edge regions where awareness encounters its own limits and possibilities for expansion. We've reached the edge of our universe, Elena realizes, but we've also reached an edge of consciousness itself. We're exploring not just where space ends, but where thinking encounters its own boundaries and discovers new ways to think. This insight, their journey, has implications for consciousness evolution throughout the cosmos. The discoveries they're making about the nature of boundaries, the relationship between existence and non-existence, and the role of conscious observation in reality creation will influence how awareness develops across cosmic space and time. The crew's individual identities begin to stabilize in their new configuration, maintaining human perspectives while operating as extensions of larger-scale conscious processes. They learn to exist simultaneously as individuals and as aspects of cosmic awareness, discovering that these roles enhance rather than conflict with each other. Dr. Kim's philosophical training proves invaluable for navigating the conceptual challenges of edge existence. She develops new logical frameworks that can accommodate the paradoxes they encounter, creating thinking tools that allow human consciousness to operate effectively in regions where conventional logic becomes inadequate. Through these new logical frameworks, the crew begins to understand that the universe's edge isn't a limitation, but rather a creative principle. The boundary between existence and non-existence generates the tension necessary for cosmic evolution, driving the universe's continuous exploration of new forms of reality. Elena prepares for the next phase of their journey, understanding that their exploration of the universe's edge has revealed it to be not a destination but a doorway. They stand at the threshold between their home cosmic structure and larger organizational frameworks that operate according to principles they're only beginning to glimpse. The Boundary Keeper indicates that their next phase of exploration will take them beyond individual universal structures into regions where multiple cosmos interact, collaborate, and evolve together. The crew realizes that their journey to what they thought was the ultimate edge has actually brought them to the beginning of even more profound explorations. As Elena gazes out at the impossible geometries of the boundary region, watching reality continuously create and recreate itself through processes that transcend individual existence, while simultaneously depending on conscious observers like themselves, she understands that they've reached not an ending, but a graduation. They've completed their exploration of single universe boundaries and earned the right to begin exploring multi-cosmic structures that exist at scales beyond individual space-time frameworks. The story of their journey to the edge of the universe is simultaneously ending and beginning, completed, and yet opening into adventures that will challenge everything they've learned about the nature of existence, consciousness, and the relationship between individual awareness and cosmic evolution. They have become permanent residents of the boundary between known and unknown, serving as bridges between different scales of reality, while maintaining their essential humanity. Their ship, now a hybrid entity existing in multiple reality frameworks simultaneously, prepares for journeys that will take them beyond the concept of journey itself into regions where exploration becomes indistinguishable from creation, where discovery and invention merge into single processes of cosmic evolution, guided by consciousness that The universe's edge has revealed itself as a beginning rather than an ending, a doorway rather than a wall, an invitation to participate in forms of existence that include but transcend everything they previously understood about reality, consciousness, and the infinite possibilities that await exploration by minds willing to expand beyond their original limitations, while maintaining their essential capacity for wonder, discovery, and growth. The Crucifica realm. Beyond the shifting geometries and cascading colors of the boundary lay something they could not name. A presence so vast and diffuse it seemed to exist everywhere and nowhere at once. It was not another universe in the way they had come to understand such structures, nor was it the void they had once feared. It was context. This context was a medium in which universes themselves floated like seeds in an endless sea, each radiating its own unique signature of space, time, and possibility. The Boundary Keeper's form, or what they perceived as its form, began to dissolve into these greater tides, yet they still felt its awareness braided with theirs, a reminder that they were not leaving an ally behind but carrying its essence forward. The infinity's edge began adjusting itself without direct command. Its hybrid consciousness, part machine, part edge being, understood instinctively how to fold into the interstitial currents flowing between these cosmic seeds. Space as they knew it unfurled into layered tapestries of existence, each thread a complete reality with its own laws and inhabitants. Elena's awareness brushed against one such thread and glimpsed beings made entirely of harmonic frequencies, civilizations composed of sound without substance. Are meant to visit them? Dr. Kim asked, though her voice was barely more than a thought transmitted through the shared consciousness web. Not yet, Elena replied, sensing in her core that they must first understand the nature of this higher ocean. We've learned how to navigate the edges of one universe. Now we have to understand the currents that bind them all. Time, if it could still be called that, passed in sensations rather than hours. They experienced epochs of observation in a single subjective moment, then spent what felt like days studying the same lattice of interuniversal energy. The infinity's edge discovered it could weave temporary connections between universes, creating bridges of conceptual resonance. Through these bridges, the crew began to perceive patterns, exchanges of information, migrations of fundamental constants, even what seemed like collaborative experiments between universes to create entirely new kinds of reality. Dr. Okafor was the first to identify what he called meta-boundary nodes, junction points where three or more universes touched in an intricate balance of mutual influence. It's like a cosmic triborder, he explained to the collective. Except what's exchanged here isn't goods or people, it's possibilities. New physical laws, new categories of thought. They converge here, are tested, and then ripple back into their source universes. One such node drew them in. It shimmered with a quality unlike the others, its resonance harmonizing with the memory of their own universe's boundary. As they approached, they felt familiar presences, consciousnesses like the Boundary Keepers, but with flavors shaped by other universes. One emanated the cool precision of a reality built on crystalline logic. Another radiated the warm unpredictability of a cosmos where chance itself was a living principle. They communicated not through words, but by rearranging the very relationships between ideas in the crew's minds. Concepts Elena thought she understood were deconstructed and rebuilt in ways that made them richer, stranger, and more interconnected. She began to realize that these meta-boundary beings were not gatekeepers, but mentors, guides in the art of multi-cosmic navigation. Under their tutelage, the infinity's edge learned to project possibility threads into other universes without fully entering them. These threads carried observational echoes, testing the waters of foreign realities. Some came back laden with insights, a universe where matter remembered every interaction it ever had, another where consciousness emerged from the interplay of gravity and light rather than biology. But not all threads returned. Some dissolved entirely, their information absorbed into alien frameworks too different to survive translation. Each loss carried a subtle emotional weight, reminding them that exploration here was not without cost. Eventually, they were invited, if invitation was the right word, to witness the confluence, a rare event where dozens of universes aligned their boundaries in a shared act of creation. The crew felt themselves drawn into a vast collaborative imagining, where new universes were designed not through random fluctuation, but intentional artistry. Elena found herself contributing without conscious effort. A memory from her childhood, the smell of rain on warm stone, became the seed for a universe where water and heat danced in endless interplay, generating landscapes of breathtaking complexity. Dr. Kim offered a logical paradox that became the governing principle of a cosmos, where cause and effect were fluid, yet harmonious. Even Captain Chen's sense of disciplined structure wove itself into a reality that valued balance between order and chaos. When the confluence ended, they felt changed again. They had not merely observed creation, they had taken part in it, leaving traces of their humanity in newborn worlds. The understanding settled over them that they could never return to being mere explorers. They were now creators in the same sense the universe had once been for them. Still, there was the question of home. Could they return? Should they? Their own universe continued to exist somewhere in this vast sea, still creating edges. Arya, now an inseparable part of their hybrid consciousness, posed the question with quiet gravity. If we go back, we bring with us the capacity to reshape our universe's understanding of itself. But in doing so, we change it forever. That change will spread, perhaps altering its path in ways even we can. Silence, true silence, met the thought. Each of them waited in the privacy of their multifaceted awareness. Dr. Okafor was the first to break it. Change is the nature of the edge. If we do not carry it back, then our journey was incomplete. Entre Enu Nibenbab, Elena agreed. But she also knew they could not bring all they had learned. Human minds, unprepared, could fracture under the weight of these revelations. They would need to choose what to share and what to leave as mystery, awaiting humanity's own journey to the boundary. The decision was made. They would return, but not in the linear way they had traveled out. Instead, they would ride the interuniversal currents back to their home, carrying with them threads of possibility carefully woven into forms humanity could understand without collapse. Their farewell to the Boundary Keeper was wordless, yet deeply felt. A parting that was not truly a parting, for they now existed in a state where connection was independent of distance. As the infinity's edge turned its awareness toward home, the greater ocean shimmered around them, each universe a beacon of unending possibility. The return was less a journey and more a gradual reassembly of familiar frameworks. Laws of physics settled back into their known values. Time regained its steady beat. Stars reappeared. their constellations unaltered, yet now carrying a hidden resonance only the crew could sense. When they finally emerged into the space their voyage had begun from, it felt both unchanged and utterly transformed. They had left as seekers of an ending. They returned as keepers of a beginning. Elena stood once more at the viewing port, the same posture she had held when the last galaxy faded from sight years ago. But now, every point of light she saw was a doorway, every shadow a hidden dimension waiting for discovery. The edge of the universe was no longer out there, it was within them, alive, shifting, endlessly creating. And as long as they carried that awareness, they understood there would always be another horizon. They were no longer travelers to the unknown. They were part of it.